The marketing landscape has been changing at such a rapid pace that it's hard to keep up with. Right, just a few years ago in 2011, we had about 150 MarTech vendors. Fast forward to today, there's over 5,000. And the problem is, for us as marketers, how do I pick? How do I know which ones are good? How do I know which ones are bad? How do I know which ones fit with my strategies and my company and what we have that we're trying to accomplish? The other problem is that we as marketers tend to always look for the shiny object, right? We tend to look for that silver bullet. If I just do this, all of my marketing problems will be solved. Sales will be happy. We'll hit our goals, right? And that's what we're constantly looking for. And frankly, that's what we're being promised by the market as we go through that. It started with pay-per-click as we run through that, right? You just had to have your ad on the side of Google. And if you had the number one placement, number two, number three, you were good. Right, then it turned into SEO. Just be number one on Google. That's it. Just do a bunch of blogging, right? Backlinking, all that good stuff. Just be number one on Google. That's all you need to do. Then it was email marketing, right? Just send emails out to your customers. Constantly communicate with them through emails as we go through that. And then that turned into marketing automation. Well, don't just send them batch emails. Send them nurture emails after they fill out a form, something like that. But then to fuel that marketing automation, we had the need for content. And that's when content is king, right? Content is fuel for your marketing. That's what we need to do. We just need to make a bunch of blogs and white papers and ebooks, right? Those are what we need to do. Infographics, right? Just do content. That's all you need to do at this point. And now just in the last couple recent years, we've pivoted over to things like account-based marketing and predictive marketing. Right, we're getting all of these new things that we need to hear. And of course, with every single one of those, there's no less than probably 500 plus companies that say they can help us solve those strategies and those problems that we're having. But the reality is that most companies are not mature enough to adopt a lot of these advanced strategies as we go through this. I was having lunch with one of the MarTech vendors, and we were talking about how there's tens of thousands of companies using advanced marketing automation software. Things like Marketo, Eloqua, HubSpot, ExactTarget, right, Adobe. And the reality was most of those companies that have these big systems, these advanced systems in place, are just using them for batch emails and linear nurture. None of them are doing personalization beyond Dear Jeff, right? They're not customizing imagery, messaging, based on geo, industry, role, what I've interacted with. Very few companies are doing that, let alone branching emails that then turn around and vary as you're going through that, right? Is based on what you've engaged with on the website or in emails, you get a whole different sequence and series that really helps dial you in. Also, a lot of those companies are barely doing very basic lead scoring, right? They're just opinionated models that probably didn't involve sales. As part of that, a website visit's worth 1 point, and a white web paper is worth 50, right, as we go through those different aspects. And so when they hit this, they're a marketing qualified lead. And so what we discovered was that this has actually started to create a big distrust between marketing and the rest of the company. Because marketing is constantly coming in, and there's already kind of a wall between marketing and sales that we're well aware of because of things like we didn't involve them in building the lead scoring models, and we've just been throwing leads over their way, but we just keep saying, hey, I need some budget, Mr. CFO, Mrs. CFO, right, as we're looking at that. I just need budget for this new tool, and it'll solve all of our problems. Well, what about that old tool that you have that we're still paying tens of thousands of dollars? Can we get rid of that? No, we still need that, but I need this one too. And we have these conversations. They say, well, are you actually getting the value out of the tools that we have today? And so how do we address that problem? How do we look at that? Well, it's kind of twofold. The first is that we need to take an honest assessment of the tools that we have today and what are we using them for, right? Go through and say, what are the capabilities of the tool sets that I have? What are we using? What's the delta? And how do we actually maximize our value in the tools that we're already using today? The other big piece is that you've got to look at which of these new strategies, these new techniques, this new tech that's coming out and say which ones are really worth my time. Doing things like real-time personalization, branching emails. Those are things your advanced system should be able to do today that I'm guessing most of you aren't. Focusing on things like personalization, and then sales enablement, right? Sales enablement is a great place for us to focus because if I can get sales a percentage gain in sales velocity, deal size, anything like that, there's an immediate ROI and we can show our impact to the business. The other part is with any new technology that you bring in, and even with some of your existing ones, if you do that alone, you're setting yourself up for failure. You also have to address the process and the culture along with that, because if sales doesn't trust your leads and you start generating a bunch more of them, they're never going to get picked up, right? So that's a waste of effort and time and money. And so you've got to address that culture issue. You also have to address the process issue of maybe you're going to generate a lot more content or a lot more leads as a part of this, but if they can't physically get to where they need to go and the processes aren't in place, again, we're going to fall flat on our faces. And so that's another big area that we have to look at. So any kind of new tech, any kind of transformation, we have to look at the technology, the process, and the culture around that. And can we actually bring all of those together to really move ourselves forward? So my challenge to you, do an assessment of where you are today, the tools and capabilities that you have, and before you go chase another shiny object, take a look at it and say, is this really something that could drive real impact, or should we double down on what we have today?